#1 since 1998 on television, ESPN Radio, and the World Wide Web. This is the Pro Wrestling Report with your hosts, the man they call Meathead, Frank Cosentino, and Damian Nelson. Professional wrestling news, opinion, and information from fans for fans.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside the man they call David Hero, Octave, if you will. And the Kaz is here for this episode of Interactive. And what is Interactive? It's all about your emails. And it's emails that you send to us via pwrshow.com. And we've got some great ones this week, so let's, without further ado, get right down to it. First email comes from Jorge will say, Rangel. First of all, good show. Thank you. And for January 4th, who do you think has the best choice for hosting Monday Night Raw to compete with TNA Impact and the first appearance of Hulk Hogan?
It's a no-brainer who's going to host it. It's the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. His road to WrestleMania starts on January 4th.
That would be the top person at this moment. They hinted it already, and it would make sense. It's a reactive move based on TNA's move with Hulk Hogan. So it is a reactive move on WWE's part, which is different. They're usually the ones that would go first, and then someone reacts to them. So in this case, it's thank goodness for DVRs.
So Bret Hart versus Hulk Hogan? Is that what we're looking at?
By the way, you two have just said it, yeah. Now the question here is, who is the best choice? Is Bret Hart the best choice?
I think he's the most controversial choice. I think the best choice is The Rock.
Okay. Kaz, Bret Hart still the best choice or not?
The best choice for ratings, yes, is Bret Hart, because people haven't seen him in a while, at least
12
in
years
the
or so.
ring.
Oh,
In WWE.
Hall of Fame.
That was
Couple
brief.
years
That was a
ago.
one-off, basically.
He was there.
Well, but here's the question. Is Bret Hart still relevant to today's wrestling fan? The John Cena fans, the Randy Orton fans. Is Bret Hart still relevant due to the fact that it was 1997, almost 13 years ago, that he was last in a prominent WWE storyline? And one would say that today, if that were to happen, the Montreal Screwjob, it wouldn't be as significant as it was then, because look at the dynamics we were dealing with then. Vince McMahon owned the company. Not many people knew that. Not many people knew his real role in the company. You had Austin coming up. You had DX being built from basically that angle. And the veil was still on professional wrestling.
Right.
Today it's a whole lot different. Does today's fan relate to or care about Bret Hart, Frank?
Yeah, and actually I think people in Canada care about it more than the United States.
He's a hero there. I heard him say it a couple times.
He still is. It's still brought up. Now, granted, this it was a while ago now, so you've got a whole new set of fans and so on. But I think in Canada it's still out there. It's not a big story, but I think up there they do it. They care a little bit more than here. But we're still waiting for that close the loop story to end that story completely.
There was no closure. Right.
There really wasn't. I don't know if we'll see it. I don't know if we'll believe it. If it does culminate into WrestleMania, which is a possibility. So that's what I think the fans that remember that are waiting for, some type of closure on it. And normally, the good guy wins. So we'll see if this turns out that way.
Octave.
I don't think the fans have forgotten about it. Even the newer fans are still hearing about it, because whenever DX goes to Canada, it's You Screwed Bret.
Mm-hmm.
It's mentioned every Survivor Series. It's on all the DVDs. They still have the Bret Hart Wrestling Classics action figure that comes out. So Bret Hart's relevant. Now they're going to hear his story. He'll be the guest host for Raw, which will set up the angle for Bret versus Vince at WrestleMania 26, and there's Bret Hart's closure.
Who books the guest hosts
Well,
in the public side?
Vince.
So why would Vince book Bret to be guest host?
I mean, they've never said
Right.
who books the guest host. They're just there,
Right.
you know.
I think it's going to be a great night of TV. because there is the TNA part, which you'll see Hulk Hogan, which we've been kind of waiting for. And in
Which
this
one are
case,
you watching live?
I'm watching WWE live.
Really?
Yeah, I'll watch that live because it is something that we've seen Hulk on TV more than Bret Hart has, based on his reality show, and
Well, you are old school, too.
I am a little bit.
And you'll be at TNA.
I will be at
So-
Impact. I'll be in the zone.
So you'll be watching WWE like on like a little monitor.
It will be days before I see Raw. And only because of logistics. Clear that up. Dave, what are you watching live?
I'll be DVRing the Kardashians, so I'll probably watching them Monday night. But
You can watch something else while you record another
yeah,
program.
I mean,
Don't, come on.
I'll be going between Raw.
No.
and
What are you going to
Impact.
watch primarily? Because even if you're flipping,
Probably Raw.
oh.
Especially in the beginning.
Wait. Is that only if Bret Hart's the guest host?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
That's-
Bret Hart or The Rock.
If it's not those two, what's your primary
I'll be
show?
watching Impact.
Yeah, I'll watch.
And maybe that answers the question right there. Bret Hart could be a good play as guest host that day, and we don't have any information leading us to be able to confirm that, aside from knowing that his contract starts 2 days before his short-term contract with
It
WWE.
was brought up. Johnny Damon
Oh,
brought
wait.
it up.
I confirmed it back in summertime.
No. You speculated, and we completely called you out on that speculation because at the time
It was ridiculous.
it was completely ridiculous. Unfortunately, you ended up being right.
Yeah. I'm buying lottery tickets. This
Do
week.
you agree that it's a reactive move, or no? Am I
You
off
know what?
base?
I honestly think that they had it in the works, and I think when TNA said okay January 4th, I think they just sped things up a little bit.
Well, and that's a great question. I would venture to say that they needed that big thing for WrestleMania, and really, what is it this year? Last year was HBK Taker, basically, in the Mickey Rourke involvement, I guess. What was it going to be going into this year?
Sheamus and John Cena.
No. No. I mean the marquee WrestleMania, the Hogan Rock, the
Right.
McMahon
the match you
Hogan.
had to see.
Yeah.
You have to see.
Now let's think about it. McMahon has had a match at WrestleManias with all of his main arch rivals.
Mhm.
Hogan, Piper, right? Shawn Michaels.
Here's what's going to be good about this. Depending on how they use Bret Hart, if it does take the McMahon track and not the HBK track, here's what's good about it. And there's several things they can do because there's this whole Hart Dynasty DX thing going on. That'd be a good way, I think, to throw Bret into the mix. Get the dissension between DX, split them up, take the tag straps off of them. You get the Hart Dynasty elevated a little bit. But anyways, what's the difference? The difference is going to be WWE is going to build this tremendously. Unlike what we saw last week on Impact, where they completely fumbled the whole Angle, Carter, Jarrett thing, and didn't. It was intriguing television, but frustrating television because they just didn't present it properly. WWE, no matter what they do with Bret, when he shows up, it's going to be a masterpiece of whatever it is they deliver.
I will
the
say
options
this.
are too many.
I will say this: the people that are watching TNA, waiting for Hulk Hogan, waiting for him to speak, and he will. If
Brother.
they're thinking that he's going to wrestle, they're going to be, I think, very disappointed.
Or even if he does wrestle, we're going to be very disappointed.
Well, do you think they'll pull an old Nitro trick and have Hogan on at 9:58?
They have to, and I hope they do that.
Make
I hope.
us wait for 2 hours?
They have to. Well, no. They've got to do it while Raw's coming on the air. They've got to hit that first quarter hour at 8 o'clock.
It'll be interesting.
It will be.
But we do know.
I wonder if that guy from Green Bay, Wisconsin will be there on January.
That's what I was just about to allude to. We do know that there are a lot of people being discussed to be a part of that January 4th edition of Impact. And TNA is clearly pulling out all the stops. And you'll hear more information about that as the weeks progress for that show. Again, it comes down to delivery. And it comes down to not only January 4th, but January 11th.
Oh, and I was just about to say that. What a letdown it could be for either of these shows if people aren't getting what they want.
Mhm.
Like, well, I'm not going to watch that if Hulk's not going to do that. Or, well, looks like Bret Hart won't be on for the next 2 months anyway. Or if that, so I'm not going to watch that either. That's going to be the key the following couple of weeks.
Here's the final part of this question from Jorge Rango. He says, what do you think WWE would do if TNA beats them in the ratings that night? Dave Hero.
It's not going to happen.
But if. hypothetically speaking.
What would they do?
What would they do? What would you do if your son was at home?
They would have to. You know what? They wouldn't do anything different.
Frank?
Yeah, they wouldn't do anything different. I think what they may do is kind of based on what happened 12 years ago, 13 years ago, when at the time WCW,
Bret, screw Bret.
right, when WCW beat WWE for that many weeks,
April 28th?
what did they do different to change that at the time? I think they
Well,
may
no,
look
here's
at
the
that
thing.
mindset.
And
Take the last 4 weeks or the last 4 weeks of Impact's ratings, add them up, you still don't get a Raw rating.
2.5 weeks. But here's what happened, and you talk about when Nitro started getting defeated by Raw in the ratings. Two things happened over the span of that war. When Nitro came on, I think it did beat Raw that first night and maintained the momentum all the way through. Raw was putting on the much better product for weeks, if not months, before they started winning that ratings war. They brought in Tyson. It was 98. It was late April of 98. They brought in Tyson. People started watching what's going on. Then they finally beat him, and then I think it might have gone back and forth for a little while, and then WWE kept it for a while. But it's not a one-hit wonder. It's got to be intriguing storylines to keep that interest and build interest over the course of that period of time to generate a win.
I do agree with Dave, though. I just can't see it happening. It might be close or closer than it's ever been. I just don't see.
If they hit a 1-3 or a 1-5, they'll be lucky.
I think it'll be. I think it'll be close to that 1-5. I really do.
And we have said many a time in this
Hogan is that
program
big.
that ratings don't matter between TNA and WWE. On January 4th, they do. Because the shows are going one-on-one against each other, as I say in Canada. That night they do matter, but looking at Impact's ratings now compared to Raw, there is not a fair comparison there because the shows are not competing for the same viewers. They're on two different nights. One would venture to say that given that argument, TNA should have more, and that could be valid in some circles, but that night on January 4th, it's going to make it's going to be very significant, rather, what each show draws. And if Raw sees a significant downturn from its average rating of the previous few weeks, not including Christmas and New Year's, because those shows are always lower, then there's a problem. If TNA has a substantially higher rating than its average rating over the previous few weeks with the same variables, then there's a story there.
But you know that Raw's not going to take a dip in the ratings because once they announce Bret Hart on Raw, they'll announce it on ECW, they'll announce it on Superstars, they'll announce it on SmackDown, they'll announce it on all the weekend, recap shows. Their entire universe will know that Bret Hart will be on Raw.
But will they care, is the question.
Absolutely they will.
They're also catching a break in that, from the sports side, the national championship game for football is not till a couple days after.
Well, the Fiesta Bowl is Monday, January 4th.
Yeah, but the Fiesta Bowl this year it's two teams that aren't very large markets, so it'll be fine. But if that was the national championship game, the BCS game, they'd be screwing themselves royally because there would be fans like, well, I'm not going to watch this. I'm going to tape this. I'm going to watch the football game live, especially the BCS game. So they're getting a break. I think it's like the 7th or 8th. So.
Thank you for that email. Let's go to our next one. Cedric says this: I've been watching a lot of TNA, and I think I know what the problem is. They're pushing the wrong guys. What is the point of this Jay Lethal thing? He is good on the mic and great in the ring. What more do you want in a champ? Same thing about the Motor City Machine Guns. So is TNA pushing the wrong guys?
Are they pushing Jay Lethal?
I wouldn't call it a push.
He's doing jobs now.
Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Tatanka looked good, by the way. As good as he could have.
And the Machine Guns, they're getting a slight push. I wouldn't say they're getting hardly. The guys that are getting the push are Hernandez,
Matt Morgan
again. Good for him this past.
Hopefully this one takes.
And so TNA is they're still trying to find their footing right now with Hogan coming in. Everyone's a little bit nervous, a little bit jerky, trying to figure out what's going to stick.
If you want to know how nervous and how jerky they are, make sure you check out last night's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Sean Davari, the former Sheik Abdul-Bashir of TNA Wrestling, was our guest. He addressed a lot of those rumors out there about the circumstances surrounding his departure from TNA Wrestling and talked a bit about what's going on in professional wrestling right now and his take on what Hulk Hogan's impact will be on the company. And again, that's available at pwrshow.com and on iTunes, free of charge. Kaz, is TNA pushing the wrong guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wouldn't. I can't say either way, because you want to push your AJ Styles, and you still want to push the Kevin Nash's, because there is an audience there that wants to see that. But you have to also push those people that you don't know or don't have a track record. Jay Lethal isn't a guy that all right, let's see more of you. I don't know how long he's been on with TNA now, exactly, but
It's been about 3 years. No. He came on board about 2007.
so
He was only 19 or 20 when he started with the company.
I don't that's a kind of a weird question. Been pushing the wrong guys. It's the audience that is making who they want to push. They're getting no reaction.
I don't know about that. There's
Well,
sometimes
but
they
some of it
jam
is-
guys down your throat. that
Oh yeah,
nobody
no, I
cares
agree.
about.
I agree with you on
But you
that.
eventually end up carrying. It's rare that a throat jam doesn't take. And what I mean by that is when they do pick that star and just give them to you when as much as you don't want it, it's rare that it doesn't take. Die Rocky Die. That didn't necessarily take, but they kept with the push and it turned over. Sheamus, I think that's going to turn over. I was actually thoroughly enjoyed to hear the course of boos he got when he walked away from Cena on Monday night, that being Sheamus.
That means he's
People
doing
are
his job.
reacting, and that's all that matters.
looking
As
for.
long as there is a reaction, that is all that matters. But point is valid. I would say to that point, there are a lot of marketable stars that they may not be paying the focus on that they need to in TNA. I think Consequences Creed is one of them. He's got a look, and he's got a uniqueness to him where he could be marketable. He could be selling, the capes and the boxing gloves or the robes or whatever it is he wears. And he's got charisma. I think Jay Lethal's another guy. I mean, the Macho Man thing is really weird, but damn, he's good at it. But he should be beating these legends that come in, not being beaten by them. Curry Man was a great angle. And granted, I think we're better off as fans without him because Daniels is performing as a better performer, not being Curry Man. But there were so many. They have those opportunities in a lot of people. The Machine Guns, I think, are tremendously marketable, and you see them sort of get pushed and then disappear for 4
Right.
weeks. Rhino, I think, is another person with potential. So
The fans like Rhino.
they do, especially as a heel.
Yeah.
All right, Cedric, thank you very much. Let's go now down to Western Australia. And this comes from Anthony, who sends this in. I've recently become a fan of the Pro Wrestling Report and find a lot of things being said by Damien and David are things that I often say to my family if wrestling is mentioned. You think he knew Bret Hart was going to sign with WWE?
Well, after
Or that Sheamus would win the title?
He
Or
must
that
have
Alicia
listened.
Fox wouldn't win the title?
Yeah, thanks.
Or that Cody would be better than Evan? Do you think that it is wrong that Drew McIntyre gets the Intercontinental Championship while it is something that Dolph Ziggler has been striving for a long time and has worked hard for it and earned it? I personally feel that Drew has yet to earn his keep in WWE, so to speak, and should have to wait in line, despite his storyline about Mr. McMahon having faith in him becoming a champion. David Hero.
Dolph Ziggler had a shot, and obviously something went wrong where they decided he was not the direction they wanted to go into. His push has completely stopped.
Yeah.
I think what it was is that he got a lot of hype, he didn't deliver, did something wrong. Who knows what happened behind the scenes?
He delivered as a character and as a wrestler to us, the fans, I think. But again, the important thing is what's happening that we don't know about.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something there. And you know what, Drew McIntyre, he's not that bad. I consider him to be a true heel because no one's cheering for him; they're just booing him.
True Hero 811?
Absolutely, So there aren't many guys like that, and he's doing a good job. He's doing what he's supposed to. He goes out there. He's almost like Randy Orton light. He's very
Yeah.
slow, methodical. He makes you listen to his promos. He's not big enough, as far as stature-wise, as far as his build,
Yeah.
to make it that believable. But I think he's going to be just fine. These guys, they're not going to know what they can do until they're put in that spot. Who would have thought when they put the belt on Bret Hart, he was a tag team wrestler.
Mhm.
Bret Hart just beat Ric Flair. Are you kidding me? It obviously worked out.
It
man.
did. They marketed it right too. I was totally wrong on Ziggler. I thought they were going to push him to the highest limits, and by this time around Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, he wouldn't be a champion, but you could tell that he was in that direction. And for whatever reason, we'll never know, or maybe we will at some point. It just stopped. I know that he had the Rey Mysterio stuff going, And then
Great Khali.
it just stopped all of a sudden. And to me, it obviously someone in the back is thinking, well, not yet, or he did something to say not yet. It's not going to happen. But I was wrong. I thought for sure he was one of those 5 or 6 wrestlers that, hey, they could win the Money in the Bank match.
Let's not
Something
forget,
like that.
we all have our opinions and our takes on certain things, but at the end of the day, it's the McMahon family
Absolutely.
that decides what's going to happen.
And they will take those risks at that point and go, well, hey, if we're wrong financially, hopefully we won't be wrong.
Thank you for that email from Western Australia, Anthony. And we want to make sure you guys remember to check out the Pro Wrestling Report, available on iTunes and pwrshow.com. Brand new episode of the Pro Wrestling Report radio show just last night with Sean Devari as our guest. Also follow the Pro Wrestling Report on Twitter. Our Twitter name is PWR Show, the Kaz, Dave Hero, myself. Also all on Twitter individually as well. And you can now at blizzardbrawl.com order for immediate shipping your copy of GLCW Blizzard Brawl 5. Great show featuring obviously the Bobby the Brain Heenan Day festivities. Several stars, including Ken Anderson, Armando Estrada's final matchup, and so much more. That's available now at blizzardbrawl.com. Final email of the day comes from Los Angeles, California, on the West Coast. This one from a gentleman by the name of Calvin. And gentlemen, listen closely. Calvin goes to say this: you guys really don't get it, do you? It's amazing how clueless you guys can be at times. Recently on PWR Primetime, Damian, Dave Hero, and Meathead were wondering why the fans were unhappy with Sheamus as champion. Are you serious? Some pasty, pale, buffed-up guy who has been on the show for about 4 months gets pushed into the spotlight overnight, and the fans are supposed to care? Why should anyone care about Sheamus? Could any of you name one great match he had before he won the belt, or one memorable moment he had, or one memorable promo he did? Look at past champions. Look at the memorable moments Shawn Michaels had before he won the belt, the ladder match at WrestleMania, putting his partner through the window, all the great matches he had before becoming champion. Look at Stone Cold, same things basically, the 316 promo, King of the Ring, match with Bret at WrestleMania 13, and being the Intercontinental Champion. That's how you build a star. Don't compare Sheamus to Brock Lesnar. Brock is the real deal, a credible amateur wrestler before he came to WWE. Lesnar was a guy with, this is an important point, I think. Lesnar was a guy with unique wrestling ability who could move like a cat but was as big as a gorilla. Sheamus is just some guy who looks like a pale Luther Reigns. Of course, fans are going to be upset. Just face the facts. WWE has only built 3 long-term main event stars since Rock and Austin left: Orton, Cena, and Batista. Those are the only 3 guys they have built from scratch in the last 10 years as true main event stars. Damian Nelson and Dave Hero are clearly WWE marks. Haven't heard that in a while. You guys do a great job of bringing the news to the fans, but come on. So, Calvin doesn't, we don't get it. Basically, here's my take on this. Calvin, you have a different opinion than we do. You're entitled to that. We're entitled to ours. But I think you should go back and take a look at our show, our primetime episode from a couple of weeks ago, and see what Sheamus has done. While it hasn't been in front of your eyes as a WWE fan, Sheamus has been in the business for about a minute. And, people want to change. They got change. And some people are happy with that, and some people aren't. Dave Hero.
How can you say you got to build stars like they did with Austin, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart? Those days are long gone. They don't give you 6 months to a year now to build a program. It's what have you done for me lately?
Yep.
And right now, the way WWE works is they have, I consider it a factory down in Tampa, FCW. It's not a wrestling school. It's a factory where they
So
send
the powerhouse?
Yeah, it's kind of like the power plant.
Power plant. Very
What they
good.
do is they send these guys down there, and they put them in a ring, and they don't teach them anything. They don't teach them about theory. They don't teach them about old school. They barely teach them how to cut a promo. So when these guys are down there, they're just very robotic. They just go through the motions. Now, Sheamus has an amazing look. I don't care if he's pale, caramel, yellow, pink, what color, but you're talking about his look, which is what's going to get him over. I have a 7-year-old that says, hey, there's the guy that doesn't have a tan. He's memorable that way. Sheamus has been around for a while. Unfortunately, he's never been given the time to develop his character. But look at Dolph Ziggler. He was a cheerleader first.
Right.
And now he comes back.
Nikki!
And now he's Dolph Ziggler. All these guys, they all get redone. Festus has now has a new gimmick.
Mhm.
How many times did Kevin Thorne, Mordecai, and then Seven Thorne, whatever? But give Sheamus time. Look who he's working with. John Cena. It's a matter of time before he works with Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Those three guys are going to teach him, which is only going to elevate him that much faster working with the top guys in the company.
Vince McMahon knows exactly what he's doing. He's never going to put the belt on a champion without having some sort of plan for him. Again, I think I mentioned it on radio, where it's up to you, the fans, to care. If he walks into an arena and there's no reaction, Vince McMahon will do something to get that reaction because now he's put him out in the spotlight. My opinion is this: he still needs a mouthpiece at some point. Whether that's a manager that doesn't or gets involved, whatever, he still needs that heel push where he just gets thoroughly booed the moment his music hits. It's not there yet, but I like what they have done because it's something new. It really hasn't been done a lot, where they take someone that hasn't been in wrestling for a certain, or at least on their level, 4 months later, the champ. It's new. It's what you fans have wanted. Now you have it, and some of you, and you're right as far as you have your opinion, but
we have the opinion.
No, you are the opinion.
But in this case, I like it because it's something new. But I think he needs a mouthpiece at some sort, at some time, especially if he is pushed at WrestleMania. No, I wouldn't be very
You've got
good
some
at it.
managing experience on that Blizzard Brawl DVD. He managed Demolition. How many people can say that? Mr. Fuji's the only one that can say that.
That's right. I didn't do a very good job, but I would like
You
to
should have
see.
had a cane.
I think I could have borrowed yours.
What do I need a cane for?
I think he's calling you a pimp, is what he's doing.
Give him a mouthpiece. I don't know who it could be, but just someone to
But
come
why?
up.
Why can't he just be, quiet and silent, not say anything?
As a champion, I
Andre
don't
the
know how long
Giant,
that
I mean,
lasts.
Look at Andre.
He was never champion.
But he was larger than
Well,
life.
it was for 10 minutes
yeah, he
on
was.
the main event in
But I
1989.
mean, yeah, sure. Sure, he had Bobby Heenan, but that was because they wanted to ensure that Andre would be booed and
Right.
not cheered against
But
Hogan.
he was a freak of nature. No one had really ever seen someone that was 7 foot and that big, and he had wrestled in AWA and other factors. Sheamus is not as well known because he was in smaller, not independent, but in smaller areas. Now he's here. He has a different look. I just think he needs that mouthpiece at some point if he's going to keep this heel run. Because and this could very well happen, he could keep that title to WrestleMania, lose it to Cena as an example, and then you'll never see him again.
Name one guy Vince McMahon has not strapped a rocket to that eventually did not get over. He pushed Rocky.
I have to think
he
about
put-
it.
Was Lex Luger over?
They did everything they could. Oh, no, you know what? He was over. When he slammed
Yeah.
Yokozuna,
Yeah,
he
on the
was
ship.
over huge.
Yeah.
He did fizzle towards the end.
Yeah.
But Luger, you got to look at Shawn Michaels, Triple H, The Rock, everyone that Vince is, okay, this is my guy. And don't say Elijah Burke, because ECW was just a waste.
But
yeah.
they all basically had a mouthpiece, or they were good on the mic
Look at John
themselves.
Cena. His first couple of years, he was the #1 babyface on TV, and he was booed every night.
Yeah.
And they didn't stop. They kept doing
they
it.
had
I
everyone
still
against
venture to
Sheamus.
say that there are a lot of fans out there that don't realize how comfortable they were with John Cena or Randy Orton or Triple H or whoever else as champion. What I mean by that is Sheamus is this new guy who you just don't, he just showed up at your door. You're not ready for him. And quite frankly, maybe they should have built his character a little bit more. But, to say he doesn't deserve to be champion, really, if you look at the way it's presented as far as the product is, somebody could walk in at any given moment and be the champion.
Vince Russo.
Because you want that element of surprise
Yeah.
once in a while.
But people are talking about it, including Calvin from Los Angeles.
You know what?
You wouldn't be talking about it if it didn't, at least, if you didn't disagree with it or agree with it. And there is a lot of discussion out there in the world about Sheamus being champion, and a lot of intrigue now as to when Cena is going to get it back?
I think if we were to go to a Raw or a pay-per-view and you ask the people that were there in the building what they think, I think that they would dislike Sheamus because he's the bad guy against John Cena.
Mhm.
I think all the noise and all the racket is from the internet smart wrestling fans that feel he hasn't earned his, or paid his dues yet.
Yeah.
That's where all the noise is coming from.
If there are fans, and I apologize, I forgot.
Calvin,
Calvin.
Los Angeles.
Hobbs.
If there are more of you, Calvin, and that message gets to Vince McMahon saying he doesn't deserve it, do you know what his next promo is going to be? Sheamus going to walk out and go, some of you think I don't deserve it. Boo! You don't deserve it, you stink, whatever. That's how Vince McMahon works. And that this is a good thing, because it's an opinion and it's valid for some of you. But I like it because it's different, it's newer, it's fresh, and we'll see how long it lasts.
Thank you for that email, Calvin from Los Angeles. If you want to send your key emails, comments, questions, concerns, agreements, disagreements, you can do so too. Comments at pwrshow.com. Again, that's comments at pwrshow.com. Again, your name, your age, and your location certainly helps us in our efforts to select the proper emails to read on air. And if you didn't see your email read on air today, feel free to visit us at pwrshow.com to see if we do have those responses on the website. There will be no Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time this week, so Frank can celebrate Festivus. But we'll be back with a brand new edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive next week, Wednesday, right here at pwrshow.com on Time Warner Cable Channel 14 and on our media network. So, thank you very much for tuning in to today's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. We'll see you again next week, and have a happy and safe Christmas holiday.